From the Upco Studios in Oklahoma City, you're watching the Press Row. I'm Jenny Carlson here with our substitute this week, Mike Sherman, in for the vacationing Barry Trammell. Let's get to our inbox segment this week. Questions from emails. If you send in your questions, you might be in our inbox next week. Let's start with this one from Ellen. She says, Wes Welker is the epitome of class and dignity. He's not the type of person to blame others for consequences that could not be helped. It's people like Wes Welker and Owen Schur, the 7-year-old boy who wrote the letter to Kyle Williams of the San Francisco 49ers, that should be held up as heroes in the world of sports. Mike, obviously this is in reaction to Wes Welker's drop. He called it a drop. How he reacted. What's your take on all this?
My take is that it's a good thing to be a good person all the time, because what Wes Welker is able to stand up and talk about today is not a drop, and his friends have something else to bank on. Right after the Super Bowl, I wasn't watching all the commercials after the Super Bowl, but someone told me that a commercial rolled, a local commercial from here in Oklahoma City in this market with Wes Welker talking about his camp, and it was a Chesapeake spot. You can YouTube it right now, go watch it. It really talks about the magic of giving back. And so here's Wes Welker with the most regrettable heartache moment of his career, dropping a pass in the Super Bowl, has a stand-up moment afterwards at the press conference, and then this commercial rolls and says who he really is. You know what? Let everybody who fails in the public spotlight have something like that to fall back on. It's a great ad. Go watch it. He should be held up as a hero.
Yeah, and I think everybody has been sort of nationally, if you listen to what people are saying, everybody was so impressed by what Wes Welker did after the game, going to the post-game media press conference, even though he was clearly distraught, acting, not trying to give excuses. He could have said, you know what, Tom Brady didn't exactly throw me the ball where I could catch it.
He didn't.
He didn't, but he could have. And, to me, there were a lot of people saying, wow, what a great guy. And I think people in Oklahoma City said, this is the guy we know, which it's really kind of cool to see the Wes Welker that a lot of people around here know sort of going national and even worldwide.
And we know him a little bit better now that he shaved the stash. Yeah, that's a Wes Welker, I know.
We can see him again. All right, back to the inbox. This one comes from Michael. Good name, Mike. All right, why would anyone from the SEC want a playoff? With ESPN and the good old boy system they have in place, they're automatically a shoo-in these days. Now, Mike, this comes off Les Miles being in town. The LSU coach, obviously the former OSU coach, was he maybe more of a proponent after losing the championship game to an SEC opponent, but he says no. What do you make of this? Should anybody in the SEC want a playoff?
It's all set up for the SEC to be in the BCS championship game frequently. The winner of the conference championship has an automatic berth. An automatic berth. No other conference can say that. So no, they shouldn't want to change. However, it's interesting where change seems to be coming from, Jenny. The Big Ten athletic directors.
Yeah, it's true. And the Big Ten is saying, hey, we did not want a playoff before. Now we're kind of interested in what essentially would be a 14 playoff, a +1, whatever you want to call it. I'm excited to see some of this talk. I think this is right in terms of the SEC probably doesn't want a playoff. Now, I'm not so sure I would call it a shoo-in. I think what you say is right, Mike, in that if you win the championship, you're almost assured to get in. But anymore, if you lose a couple games, which the SEC is so tough, if you lose a regular season game, there's a chance you might not be a for sure for that national championship game. That would be the only reason the SEC, I think, would say, hey, we're in favor of a playoff. But if the rest of college football gets behind it, is the SEC powerful enough to stop it? I'm not sure they are. They're powerful? I don't know if they're that powerful. All right, back to the inbox. This one's from Glenda. Glenda says the Thunder defense against the Warriors wasn't at all troubling. The Thunder was playing the second of back-to-back games with an all-nighter flight in between, yet against the Warriors, they came up with defensive energy when needed in the final 6 minutes of the game. Were you worried by that defense against the Warriors the other night?
I wasn't, and when you play the Golden State Warriors, you just got to it's a wholly different kind of game. It's sort of arena football. It's like playing against the run and shoot and Mike Leach. You get roped into playing their style. Fortunately for the Thunder, they can play whatever style you want to. It's not what Scott Brooks wants to play, but it's a fun game for the players, I promise you, and for fans like me. However, Jenny, to me, it still seems like Don Nelson is coaching the Warriors. They've had like 2 coaching changes since Don Nelson was there, an interim, and now Mark Jackson. It still looks like they're playing the same way. Now, I think it hurts the Thunder to have to go play the Spurs one night and the Golden State Warriors, but it only hurts them if they have to play the Warriors first and then the Spurs.
Well, I do think that the Thunder was up against maybe something wholly different than what they usually face, the way the Warriors play. But I will say this. The way that they allowed Monte Ellis to get going in that game, that was worrisome to me. And it was even more worrisome because they had allowed Tony Parker to get going like that from the point guard position a few nights earlier. If this had been some sort of, one instance, I might say different. But Mike, this is twice a point guard or a guard that's got shooting capabilities, driving capabilities, has really gotten going. That was worrisome to me.
You've said it. Other people have said it. Whatever happened to the Pac-10 Defensive Player of the Year? When Russell Westbrook was drafted, you're going to write about this soon, I think, Jenny. When he was drafted, we were told, this guy, they're not drafting for offense, they're drafting for defense. He's one of the most supremely talented and effective offensive weapons in the league, especially when it comes to scoring and getting to the rim. The defense, he's not staying in front of people that much.
No, he is not. All right, back to the inbox for this last one from Jerry. Jerry says, I, for one, hope the courts rule West Virginia has to stay in the Big East until they complete their contract. There's something in doing what you agreed to do. The Big 12 looks very bad in inviting a team to join if they have to go to court to do so. It's kind of like proposing while either of the parties are still married. It just looks bad. What about that, Mike?
It's like a pre-nuptial. West Virginia is about ready to get out of the Big East. Memphis is on the way in. It's all so that the Big East can get enough people to replace them. They don't want them to stay, but it sounds like where there's reports now that West Virginia is going to have a $20 million settlement. Maybe the Big 12 will help pay their way out of it. And let me say this, if you're holding West Virginia to this standard, it's the only entity in college sports that's being held to this standard.
Right.
Teams don't honor their contracts to play games. They buy their way out of it. Coaches don't honor their contracts with universities. The only people who are made to honor their word and their contract that they sign are college athletes. That's it. Everybody else can get out.
Yep, that's exactly right. And it's the question of how we would like it to be versus how it is. How we would like it to be is that, everybody would stay until the end of their contracts, honor their word, honor their signatures. That doesn't happen, Mike. And I think it's really been interesting to hear some of this talk about scholarships. Should scholarships be 4 years? Kids have to sign on the dotted line for as long as they're eligible, that letter of intent, with there are penalties if they want to get out of that. But the colleges, 1 year at a time. Most of these colleges are saying 4-year scholarships. We don't want that. It's like that with this West Virginia thing. Getting out of the Big East, it's going to happen because it happens everywhere in college athletics. That's just the way it is. Hey, be sure to stay with the best coverage team anywhere at newsok.com and every day in the Oklahoma.